podcast. I'm Jessie Veeder Scofield. I am your host this morning, and I am with the Long X Arts Foundation. I'm the director here, and we are going to be talking about all things cultural fair. And this is a really exciting big group of people that have made a big impact in our community. And I think we just are excited to talk about how, the multicultural aspect of Watford City and McKenzie County and how the students and community are getting involved in celebrating that. And so it's timely because on March 25th, we are having the cultural fair and food fair at the Watford City High School. And this has been going on for several years. And so I think we should just, first of all, introduce who is at the table with us and who's going to visit with us about the cultural fair and its history and what to expect on March 25th and into the future. So we'll start over here with Ms. Polivka, and she can introduce herself, and then we'll go kind of down the line.
Hi, I'm Amy Polivka, and I work at Watford City High School. I'm the student council advisor, so these kids are a part of that group, and we plan the cultural fair at the high school.
Hi, my name is Kyra Delgado. I'm in 11th grade, and I run usually the social media for the student council and kind of help with the secretary stuff.
My name is Maxwell Hansen. I'm a senior this year at Watford City High School. And this year I'm the ambassador chair, so my job is basically to run the cultural fair.
All right.
And hello, my name is Gloria Asare. I work at Hallow School Bus, and just happy to be part of this beautiful culture fair.
Thank you, guys. Well, let's start at the beginning. Arts Foundation has been involved with the cultural fair because we have a grant through Strengthen ND and the Bush Foundation to celebrate cultural arts in the community. And so when this came across our table a few years ago, we were all about it because we want to not only celebrate the arts in McKenzie County, but the different cultures that exist here and work alongside of each other. And at one point when we were booming, and I use this all the time, this statistic, I'm not sure what it is now, but when we were in the height of the boom, we had over 22 different cultures and someone from every state in McKenzie County. And I don't think we're that far off of that number now, but why did we feel like, or why did your students, Amy, feel like this was something they wanted to tackle, the celebration of culture in McKenzie County?
Yeah, so we got started, this will be our fourth cultural fair. So about 4 years ago, I'd taken a group of students over to the Vision West meetings. It's a consortium of the counties in Western North Dakota, and they had landed a grant also for multicultural use. And Daniel Stenberg was at that meeting as well, and we talked a little bit about how Watford really was booming with culture, as you pointed out. And we came back to the school, and it was a few days later, Allie Cross and Aiden Pelton came, and they said, "We've got this idea." Which was really cool because it was student-driven. And I said, I think Jessie at Long X has a grant similar. Let's work together. Let's figure this out. So it started small, and we started just piecing it together with students in our school from different cultures. That year we had, I think, 11 foreign exchange students, which was amazing. So we looped them in and got that started. And it really took off. We did it our first year in the cafeteria at the high school, and we immediately knew we needed a bigger venue because when you started putting it together, I think that year we had 18 cultures represented. So it was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Max, how was your involvement in it? Why did you feel like as a student you wanted to step up and help out?
Well, I've been in student council for all my high school, so I've always liked being involved with things. And when I kind of heard about this cultural food fair, and after the very first one, I helped a lot, but I was kind of more behind the scenes. And then after that first one, I was like, this was like a really awesome, really powerful event. And so I was then elected to the ambassador program chair. So now I get to be the one to help lead and plan it, which is just really awesome.
It's a big endeavor, but I think when you first stepped into it, and have you been, Gloria, involved in it from the beginning?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. What is, in your opinion, as a participant of the cultural fair, what's so special about it? Why did you, as a community member, want to say, raise your hand, which I guess I should say, when you're working on it as students, did you imagine that you would have that many community members that raised their hand and said, I would, because at first I think it was maybe more, correct me if I'm wrong, your foreign exchange students, like maybe we'll just celebrate them. And then a lot of community members like you stepped up and said, wait, we have food we want to share. We have culture we want to share.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about why that enthused you.
I wanted to be involved with it because when we first moved here, I noticed I wanted to introduce what I have in me to the community. Because I moved from a community that was very diverse. And when we first moved here, I realized there's not something new. You know, I wanted people to be introduced to something new, especially in terms of food. So when I got contacted by a lady, and I was like, sure, that's something, because I love cooking anyway. So I would love, and I'm a type that I love people to try something different. Because when I first came to United States, it was hard for me to try food here. So but after trying some food here, I fell in love with it. And my mom would be like, just get a little bit and taste it. If you like it, fine. If you don't, put it down. And I realized I like so many stuff, like dressing, dumpling, biscuit, you know. So most of the time I do encourage, especially the young people, because I'm from Africa. I'm from West Africa. And most of the time where you're from, that's all the food you know. So most of the time when I get to meet new people here, I encourage them. I say, you don't have to like it, but at least try a little bit. You might love it, you might not. And that's okay, but at least you have tried. So it was just exciting for me to introduce people to something different besides what they know. So that's why when I got that call, I said, sure, I would love to do that, you know. So, but it has been wonderful. It has been wonderful. Most of the time, my food seems like it's a big hit over there, so it go quick, you know. So it make me happy. It make me very happy that people get to try something new or see different culture beside whatever they know, you know. So, yeah.
Well, and food, and we know this in the Midwest, food is just communication. It's community.
True.
And I think that maybe transcends, and maybe we found that out with this cultural fair, across cultures and across different communities. That is a good way to break down barriers. Arts does it as well, dance and music, which we infuse into the celebration. But food is love and food is sharing. And when you are in a community like Watford City, where if you're a local like Amy and I are, we are definitely the minority. Everyone else is from somewhere else, whether it's Africa, or whether it's Canada, or just, you know, across the state. We have different ways of communicating with one another, but also it is just so important to feel like we're connected. And I think showing up, and we can talk a little bit about this. Is this your first cultural fair, Kyra?
This is my third one, but this is the first one me and my family will be participating in.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. We can talk about how that food connects. Talk a little bit about what your family is planning on doing and who you're representing at the cultural fair.
As of right now, we're representing Mexico, but we don't know exactly what we're going to make. I'm thinking right now probably pozole, because the lady before is not now. We were originally thinking about making Jamaica, which is like this purple drink, and it's like made with the hibiscus flower.
My favorite.
Nice.
And a lot of people were actually confused because the spelling is like Jamaica. So they're like, what is Jamaica? I'm like, oh, that's not what we're making.
Well, and then when they come up to your booth, you have food, you know, and I don't think, especially the first one, people really knew what to expect, but I think using food as a way of connecting is really smart. But what did you find, Amy, when people showed up? And I was there too. It was like, they're just excited to learn. And not only do you serve the food, but your booths look great. You know, we invest in help, and Vision West does to provide funds so that your booths can look like your country, like your culture, like your community. So you're serving food, but then also you're getting to talk about your community and learn about it. So
well, in our first year, and we've actually done this now the last 3 years too, we paired it with our parent-teacher conferences in the spring because we felt like at least the parents and the students that were coming would be enough people. And what we found out was the majority of the people were there not for parent-teacher conferences. They were really excited. I think, you say food. Great. That's awesome. We get to try some new things. But also the conversations that started. And we had some people that were brand new to the community and like, oh, well, I didn't know there was another person from Venezuela here. Or we were unaware that there was a foreign exchange student from Germany, and we have a German background. And so then the conversations that you heard around the tables was amazing. And then people would come sit together at a table and eat and discuss the different flavors and the foods. And at the same time, Jessie had people there dancing. And so there was an entertainment on top of it. And we kind of thought people would breeze through and leave. No, they stayed. So our cafeteria was packed with we didn't ever keep track, but we felt like at least 200 people there. So when we expanded to the Rough Rider Center and our best laid plans, we had been invited to do the Main Street Summit. So we had, went away from parent-teacher conferences and we were going to try to do it with the Main Street Summit. And then we had a fall snowstorm and that got canceled. And we were a little worried. We thought, oh, geez, all these people, they're going to back out. They're not going to want to do this. And as we picked up the phone and called people, they're like, oh, we'll just stick it in our fridge. Let's do it next week. So we did. We just waited a week, and Miss Gloria was amazing. She's like, oh, I hadn't even started cooking yet, so this is perfect. And we just waited a week, and, any food that perished, it was easy to get it again. I have to give a shout out to Melissa Quintero at Jack and Jill. She's been a huge supporter, and the ingredients list that I get from a lot of these participants, I've never heard of. I'm not even sure if I'm trying to order the right stuff. And I call up Melissa, and she's like, oh, done. We've got it. No problem. Or here's a substitute, which is really amazing to have that type of support. But I think it's also brought a flourish of business for her, too, because she's now noticing ingredients that people in our community want and need. And I know Gloria, she made a dish last year, and I'll let you tell more about it. But my kids ate it, and they said, we need more of this, Mom. And now Gloria makes it, and we go buy it from her.
Faithful customers.
She's really gotten into it. And my friend Katie just took a trip over to Ghana, your home country, and she came and made dishes for the rural leadership people. So you can tell a little bit more about that. But for me, the benefit is just all these amazing connections that people are making in our community. We knew the culture was here, but now they're becoming more connected and a way to showcase and be proud of that culture too.
Yeah, talk a little bit about how it's kind of expanded your, catering, really. You've gotten some calls and some gigs from this.
Now I have probably over 50 customers in Watford City.
Wow.
Because, like I said, it's a good opportunity. I love cooking. It's my passion. I don't have certificate for cooking, but I just love what I do. But 3 years ago, when we did it, I remember a lot of people came over there, and then they say, "Oh, what you got?" I said, "I got jollof." They say, "Oh, we heard of Ghana jollof." This is like a competition going on with Ghana jollof and Nigerian jollof. And when you go to TikTok and you kind of do it, it's a whole lot. This one say mine is good. This one say mine is good. It's like a little competition. And so when they saw it, they said, "Oh, this is what is jollof." I said, "Yeah." And then they like it. So last year I decided to also introduce them to something else different, and we made something called samosas.
Oh, okay.
Samosas is more like a pastry, and then you put ground beef with other good ingredient. You put it in there, and then you deep fry it, and it's a hit. It's a hit. Like some weekend I up to over 500 pieces.
Oh, really?
Over here. But then most of the people that buy them are people who came for the culture fair last year. So like I said, gradually we get to introduce people to something different beside, the same old what they know. And to me, that's what I feel the joy of doing it. So whenever Miss Amy, I think this year even I'm the one that contacted her. I said, when are we doing it? And she said, it's coming up. We're going to let you know the day, So I get excited. You get to see all the happy faces, you see them chit-chatting, we like this, we don't like this. Oh, this was good. We have heard yours is so good. We want to, and it get me excited to see, especially the little kids. Adults, yeah, but the little kids. Some parent will walk by and say, oh, my child is so picky eater. But then we try maybe your samosa or your puff, which is puff is another I wanted to add to our list. It's like a sweet donut, but it's a little chewier. So they like, oh, my kids usually picky, but when they try that, they love it and they keep asking for more. And like I said, it makes me happy to see people trying something different and loving it, falling in love with the whole culture, different food, so in case, because I always tell people, I say, this life, you just never know where life going to lead you to. Yeah. So if you decide to be a picky one, and let's say you are in the army, and army take you to Africa, what you going to do? You got to survive. And you have to adjust to whatever food that is available in the country, so I'm just happy that people are trying something different.
I think that's that's just a good lesson, even for how much Watford City has changed and the adjustment for people moving into this community. I think for a lot of them, it was a culture shock to move to, I always say it, like the middle of nowhere, the really cold place to live, and very remote and rural. And so to have just kind of people, those actual connections over events and community, I think makes it an easier place to live. Yes. I want to talk a little bit for people who might be wanting to do something like this in their community, and talk about the logistics of how this works in terms of how the students handle it, because I think that's what makes this really impressive, is that not only, and when we applied for our Cultural Connections Strengthen ND Bush grant, it wasn't so we could tell the community what we needed to do in terms of celebrating culture. We wanted the community to come to us and tell us, same as Vision West, how should we spend this money? What should we be doing? Who should be involved in what? What do we need? And so logistically, for you students, tell us how you manage all of this, because you are all very busy. You're student leaders, you're in sports, you're in clubs. This is another thing on top of all the other things you do. And how do you manage it? Who's on your team? Talk a little bit about the process.
Well, I think what makes this so doable is that we have a very large student council filled with tons of amazing leaders in our school. Everyone's super willing to help out and do things, even if it's super small. It's just like making a phone call. So that's kind of where it all starts. Is we the students, we go out and we call community members and people who we think could be interested. And, sometimes they don't pick up, sometimes it's a no, but a lot of the times they do say yes because, they're interested in it. And that's kind of the start of it, I guess, is making the connections with the community members. And then once they're kind of like in, once they do one, then we can reach back out to them. And then it's just easier and easier every year because we have more and more people that like know about it and want to do it. And that's really just like, it's just awesome, really, that we have such good community involvement and student involvement in it. And then we kind of go into the planning stages. Usually how we do it is we pair up a student in the high school, usually in student council, with a person the person that's representing the country. Okay. So they kind of help them, like show them how to how to find their ingredients, like figure out what dish they want to make, and kind of walk them through the logistics of it and make it easier on them, so they just have to make their dish and take out some of the stress on them, which I think makes it really good too.
I think that does. You have a really well-oiled machine, I think, at this point. And what I love about it is that your students are getting on the phone and making those, like you said, personal connections. And then you have, of course they're going to say yes and want to be involved because it's a positive experience, even just working with the students. I think you've seen that in people wanting to be involved, even if they're not representing a country. Have you seen a little bit of that where they're, can I help, cook?
Yes, the students are very eager to help out. Our student council is one of the greatest things, is that we have so many students that are just like, oh, I'll be there. I'll go and help cook, and I'll be there to help set up things. And couple hours, they'll put in 7 hours of their day just from the school. I get out of school for a little bit. I get to help go to the Rough Rider and set this up. And then, they just get to appreciate the culture better too, as well, just sitting there. And they definitely go around and they still try things, but they're there. Our student council is there helping everyone get everything prepared.
What's your favorite part of the coming from a student's perspective of the community event? What's your favorite role that you play or your favorite experience so far? And it can be, anything, small or big.
Well, the whole event is obviously super fun to plan, but one of my personal favorites is getting to help make the dishes themselves in the kitchens. It's really cool to get to see how they do it and then get to help out. And then at the end, a lot of times they'll let you try it before it goes out to everyone. First, you get first samples, and then obviously once it's all set up, getting to go around and try the food is awesome, because especially Gloria's table hers is always packed. She sells out first, so you got to get there quick.
I know, right?
Have you amped up your numbers since the first?
Well, then the numbers they're giving me 150. I said, no, that's not going to work for me. You might as well give me my 307, because I think last week, Miss is it Maritza from Brazil?
Yes,
she contacted me. She said, Gloria, I don't know. How do I cook for so many people? I said, well, if you can, just do a dessert. Because I like to challenge myself. So it could be 1,000 people, I'm ready. It could be 2,000, I'm ready. If I like to challenge myself, like, okay, I can do this. I can, and then back home in Africa, we like big family. We live like what we call compound house. And compound house could be let's say siblings of 20 with their family. So you're talking about over 50 people. And sometimes you got to cook and share among all of these people, because it's not everybody who can afford to cook, So I like challenging myself, and like Kyra was saying, there's a lot of help. And I really love that about the student here, because the excitement, whenever you get there, how they want to always come and help you set up. They keep coming to check up on you, what you need, would do anything. And that makes the job or the fair even more fun and also easier on everybody. And so I really appreciate the kids for that, their involvement with the whole fair. It makes it more fun and easier. They always, most of the time they do offer to come to my home or whatever to see if they can help me cook.
Oh, nice.
And most of the time I tell them, I say, honey, my food, our food is a process. Our food is, I can steam all my chicken today, maybe fry it tomorrow, because I want the flavors to get in there. So most of the time I tell them but they always offer that for us to help out. And that's very good of them too, so.
Well, and Gloria, I think you're an example of a participant that's went all out. And you brought up Maritza from Brazil, and she is a very busy woman. She has an in-home daycare.
Yes.
And the first year that we asked her to participate, we had a Brazilian for an exchange student that he had said, I really haven't ever cooked very much in my home. I don't know what to do. And so we found something as simple as like a wrapped candy and a beverage that we could order through Amazon. And then they gave samples out to people. But even if the food wasn't the star of the booth, the idea was that people made that connection with where Brazil was on the map and what the culture was different. Where our foreign exchange student lived and where Maritza lived was very different. And so they were able to speak to both of those sides of the country that they came from, which was really, really neat. And now Maritza is brave enough to try
to do it,
cooking a dish that she's paired with a new foreign exchange student from Brazil that's, more versed in the kitchen, and she's making a dessert.
Yes.
And so it's a partnership, too, that I think helps make someone feel like I can do this again. And then we have some participants that they're like, I can't this year, I'm too busy. Well, that's okay. We're going to keep bugging you because this is something that we're able to continue to do thanks to the grant support that we have. And I also wanted to say that the Rough Rider Fund said that they're willing to help support this if we continue to grow and keep doing it. So for communities that are trying to get something like this started, our cultural fair is very different because it is student-led. But adults can make this happen. It's just finding that collaboration. And funding is a big part of it to make the food. We buy everything, so there's no cost to these individuals. And if they do purchase it themselves, we reimburse them, which I think makes it easier for the participants to say yes. But the time and the kitchen space, then we can also help them with that, too, because of the student involvement, for sure. So it's easy to do, and we're willing to reach out and help anybody with the process, too.
Which leads me into a question I was going to ask. I think logistically what the space looks like. We have a nice facility in the Rough Rider Center. It's connected to your school. You have a big commercial kitchen in there. Some people have decided to cook in their home and bring it in. Some people cook in that big kitchen. And then I wanted to just create a visual quickly before moving on to my next question. How we have had it set up, I think, is really inviting, since you learned in the first year that people want to sit down and visit and talk, creating that space for them to do it. But all of the booths in a big circle around a big stage in the middle where there's celebration and there's dancing and there's singing and there's an art project and things like that. So, but you can set this up. You can do it as big or as small as your community or your volunteer set can handle. And it just, like anything, I think in McKenzie County, if you have a good idea, like it might become bigger than you want it to be or are prepared to be. But that brings me to what we're talking about other communities. And you, after your first cultural fair, you mentioned being called in to do it for a Main Street Summit, which is the governor's summit here in October a couple years ago. And you've gotten some state recognition or been asked to come to the table to talk about this. Can you, in other communities or for other communities, can you talk about that a little bit, or what that experience has been like as student leaders, being able to be really proud of something that you've done?
Yeah, so we did. We were supposed to do it at the Main Street Summit in, was it 2020?
2023.
2023.
Yep.
We were supposed to do it, but then we had to cancel, right? Bad weather.
Because of the snowstorm.
Yep.
So it was a tough day.
Yeah, it was really tough. The whole thing got canceled, and we were obviously all pretty bummed about it. But we ended up still doing the Main Street Summit happened the year after that.
Yes.
So we did that was it September? Maybe?
Yep.
Yeah. So we didn't do the cultural fair with it, but it was just the Main Street Summit itself was a really awesome experience. I got to be on a panel with Pat Bertinoli, and we got to kind of discuss some of the things we're doing in our school for the ambassador program, which was really awesome to get to be a part of that event. And yeah,
I think that I mean, you are all doing amazing things with your ambassador program. The cultural fair, just the visuals of what you all put together, I think spread really kind of virally across the community of North Dakota. And we got a lot of calls, but it was all credit to your student ambassadors for getting it together, because it is, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, but it was a beautiful event that people really even felt drawn to just by the photographs and things.
And it gave us a platform to invite people from other communities to come do this. And we were actually invited to go to Divide County and check out. They had a cultural fair there, and unfortunately we were double booked with another activity and didn't make it. But it was neat to have them reach out and say, come check out ours, and we're going to come check out yours. So to anybody that's going to watch this, we just ask you, distance doesn't matter. Come out to Watford City and check it out because it is well worth the drive. We had some people come from Bismarck last year.
Oh, really?
Just because they had heard about it through the Main Street Summit. And then, Kyra, you could talk a little bit about our trip to the legislature and what came of that.
I mean, the trip there was pretty rough. The bus breakdown.
The bus broke down?
Yeah.
Wasn't it really, really cold?
It was.
It's always an adventure traveling anywhere north
negative.
We finally got there. I mean, it was all right. But yeah, I mean, it went really well. We definitely it was still worth it. I mean, a lot of people were talking about turning around, and I'm glad that we still decided to persevere and go through with it. And a lot of learning experiences with that. And we just got to learn about how laws are passed, and a lot of students have never been in the Capitol or at least seen what that was like. So it was a really great opportunity for all of us to sit down and talk to a couple of lobbyists. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And we got to see the senator.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Well, and really you think, and Amy and I went to high school here together, and Amy was really involved in student leadership then, and I just love to see the work that you're doing with these students back in our community. Genuinely, you think, you're going through as teenagers and students, and you're just you're doing your schoolwork, and you're doing the things that, you think you need to do to move forward with your career path. But what you're doing in these special events, these special experiences that you're jumping into, and that your leaders like Ms. Polivka is giving you, I think is really special. And I think it's a special thing that McKenzie County offers your students, to have that chance to get on a bus and get to the Capitol. And it opens doors and opportunities for you that you won't even know until you get further down in your life. So I don't know if you could speak a little bit more to that, but
yeah, I think you bring me back down memory lane. Growing up in North Dakota in the early 2000s, we had maybe 1,500 people in Watford. Our high school, or our whole school system was probably under 300. And I moved away. I went to school at UND, so did Jessie, and then I chose to move to Omaha, Nebraska, and I taught at a high school, Omaha Central, and their pride and joy was their culture and their diversity. I do believe there was 26 countries represented in that school. I could walk down the halls and hear many different languages. And I just was in awe because growing up in little Watford City and no exposure to any kind of culture other than Norwegians versus Germans, you know what I mean? It was just so fun, and I loved it. And I love that we had started raising our family in that kind of community. And then when we came back to Watford, it was so different. There wasn't quite as much of a boom of culture when we came back in 2011, 2012. But as the years progressed, there was more and more. And I just remember thinking, like, oh, thank goodness. My kids are still going to be exposed to many cultures. They'll learn to be respectful of one another, these peers that came from all over the country and then all over the world. And so when this opportunity came about, I thought, oh, what a great way now to share this with more students, more kids. Because in the halls of a high school, things get cliquey, and sometimes you don't necessarily talk to the kids sitting at the lunch table 4 rows down. But when the cultural fair occurred, I think I overheard, I just have to use the Delgado family as an example, a kid say, Kyra, we didn't know your family was from Mexico. And Kyra, yeah, both of my parents, and they speak Spanish and I don't. And just those kind of really cool conversations that came out of it. I was very proud of our students for engaging in that experience and carrying it out. And then just to hear the buzz the next day in school. Like, if we ever had this on a Friday, I'd be so disappointed because I wouldn't be able to hear what the kids were chatting about. When we have it on a Tuesday or a Thursday the next day in school, it's always like, whoever talks about parent-teacher conferences the next day in a positive light, well, our kids do, because the cultural fair was right next door, which was really amazing.
Did you feel that in the hallways after your first, of course, after the first event, but that it opened doors for some more conversation within your peer groups? Seeing, like Ms. Polivka said, I didn't know you had connections, or to, any of the cultures. Did that feel like you maybe made more connections with other students?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of students where it's like, I knew you had a background in this, but I didn't know that you were so you had so much more culture than that, and that they're so involved. And it's like, oh, my grandpa is not even from here. He's literally from another country. Or my parents immigrated here from this in like 2009. Like, it's just, you don't realize how many cultures are in Watford right now, and their kids are going to school with you. Sure. And a lot, I mean, as a student, you want to blend in, and it's like, you really have an opportunity then, and it's not, no one's being judged. It's just a way to bring diversity together. And it's just, we have so many kids and everyone just enjoying and really showing off, like, this is what my family and this is what the traditions we have.
I think one thing to point out too is, especially when we do the cultural fair in the beginning of the year, we've had foreign exchange students in our school for the past 3 years, which is really awesome. So whenever we like make the connection with them and say like, hey, do you want to do this? A lot of times at the beginning of the year, you know, they're kind of like nervous. You know, they just got here. They don't really know like what all this is about. But it's a really good like icebreaker to get people to go up and, you know, it's a great way for them to meet people and connect with the community members. So I think that's really good, especially when we do it in the beginning of the year. Yeah. Obviously by the end of the year, like this year, you know, they already know everyone, but.
Right. Well, and I think that's good, what we're trying to do with the Long X Arts Foundation, to having that cultural connection, knowing that our community is so diverse, you mentioned, Amy, the clickiness that can happen within high school, that happens in a community too. You can get isolated groups within your community that don't feel like they can come to a community event, or maybe they don't feel, and we don't know as leaders this is happening, that they're welcome at the table, that they're welcome in leadership positions, or they're welcome to tell community members what they need, or be expressive and be proud of who they are and where they came from. And I saw that a little bit coming into this community in 2012 is sort of when we moved back to seeing from other communities what they do and how they lift their multiculturalism up. And we needed to do the same thing, maybe more than any other community, because it happens so fast. And then you're finding, oh no, there's a section of people that don't feel welcome here. How do we make them feel welcome?
Yeah, and I think as a teacher, that was so disheartening, especially the first 3 or 4 years. I had a son that was in the school system, middle school through high school, during those first years that we were here. And he would make a good friend, and then they would move away because this doesn't feel like home, or, you know, this isn't our home. And so I think the more communities can do intentionally inviting events like this, and have people showcase, you know, their unique background and their culture, then this becomes more like home. Because when you feel appreciated and needed, then you don't want to leave. It's not easy to leave Watford City, is what I'm hearing more from families that have to move away or a job takes them away, is that this felt like our home. This has been our home. And so I like that change in the dynamics. You can't please everybody when they come into a community, but you can find positive avenues and people within our town. And the cultural fair is a great place to meet people and make those connections.
Have you found that in your experience in Watford City? I guess we didn't talk about when you came into the community and your experience kind of finding your place here. Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Well, so far, Watford City have been a great place. Since we moved here 2020, immediately I felt welcome because I started going to church, Cross Point, right away. And the love, you know, because I'm from a country that don't see colors. Everybody is equal. Growing up, my mom used to work for a lot of ambassadors, and that's how she ended up in the United States. And I have to come 9 years later after my mom came. But then, you know how some people have issue with people in terms of maybe color, you know. But when I first moved here, that's something I'm like, Because even in the South, in Georgia, I feel like it's more racist that goes on over there. But when we moved to Watford City, my mom would call me. She said, how do you like the new place? I said, you know what? I love it. Everybody seemed friendly. Everybody seemed very welcoming. like when we first visit our church here, I think the following week, by the time I was not even in the house, people I have just met a week was bringing flowers and groceries and stuff to my apartment. I'm like, who are these people, you know? But they were very nice, and it made me feel comfortable to live here. It had been several attempts to move out. But then I keep telling my husband, we love it here. You know, my kids, whenever I tell my kids, you know, maybe we want to move to a bigger, no, mommy, we love the school. We love our teachers. We love our friends, you know. And so it has been a great community so far for me and my family. So it just like I said, to keep introduce them to something new and to you know, let people know what we got. Because whenever people come to the culture fair, they feel amazed that, oh, all this country people live here. I'm like, yeah. And then they even get excited when they find out the food is free.
We do know how to do that here in the Midwest.
All the invitation I have been passing, and then they will tell me, oh, how much do we have to? I say, it's free. Huh? Free? I say, yeah, it's free. You don't pay a penny. The only thing you bring in is bring your body and come explore and eat and have fun. It's going to be dancing going on. Just come and have fun. If you're not there to have fun, then stay home. But just come, eat, and have fun. You cannot be that, you know.
Yes. And
So,
I think
yeah.
I'm glad that you brought up that it was free, because our first year they said, well, maybe you should take donations. And we said, no, there's not many things you can do with your family that's free anymore,
Yes.
you know? And so if you feel like you have to donate, maybe that deters somebody that wouldn't have come. And so we really have stayed away from doing that. As long as we have the funding and it's available, we'll continue to run it this way too.
Yeah, a lot of people are amazed by that. They be like, free? I say, yep, it's free. Even at work, at Hallows, I've been telling some of our new drivers, and they say, oh, so how much do you think? I say, honey, it's free. And they're like, you sure? They say, my third year. I know what I'm talking about. It's free. So everybody come. It's free.
Well, and the food samples are small, but by the time you make it around to, and every year I think I'm going to try
you get a formula. You're right.
Every year I think I'm going to get to every booth, and then I'm full.
Then you know, you get full
I can't put it anywhere. So I just think, well, next year I'm going to start with Cuba instead.
Well, I think this conversation has been really wonderful for those who have been to the cultural fair, to those who want to maybe start something in their community. Gloria, thank you for sharing your perspective.
Yes.
I think that was a good note to end on. The idea that what you've done here in your community as students has made a major impact in the community and to people's individual experiences in McKenzie County. And to Amy, to your leadership with these students. I mean, I have to tell you the list that we get, because we help pay for the food under our grant, the amount of things that need to connect and the communication that you all do to get this rolling. There's a lot of intricacies in community help. And so I just commend you for it. And you're making a big difference. Yes. You're making a big difference in the lives of our community members, making them feel welcome. So anyone who is coming to or thinking they want to come this way for the cultural fair, they absolutely should do it. It's March 25th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Rough Rider Center. It is alongside of parent-teacher conferences, but community members are welcome.
Oh, and I was supposed to mention, I'm so sorry, I should have done this earlier. This year we're adding 8 new booths, and they're community booths, some of which are to help bridge that gap with multicultural interactions. And Aiden Pelton, who works here as our CWE, he wanted me to talk about the ILA translator device that they're trying to get into the hands of employers, so that way it's a way to communicate with workforce or even in school. And that's one of the booths. So come check out the community
good.
booths as well.
Well, thank you all for coming and having this conversation in the middle of a very busy week. We appreciate the time. And I personally am just so proud and honored to be involved in this event, and really just proud of you students for pulling it off and doing it with such grace. So thanks for coming.
Thanks, Jessie, for having us.
Thank you.